Hello and welcome to the very first video on my channel. On this channel I want to talk about different movies, discuss them and share my opinion of them, so if you like this kind of content, feel free to stick around. The movie I want to talk about in this video is the live-action Snow White movie that came out in March this year, with Rachel Zegler in the main role as Snow White. So let's get straight into it. I want to start with the summary of the movie for the few of you who probably haven't seen it. So if you are familiar with the live-action movie, just feel free to skip this part as well. But for now, let's start with the summary. I try to do this very briefly, so keep up with the pace, okay? The movie starts showing Snow White's happy childhood, then the mother dies, the father falls in love with a witch, the father goes off to a mission, he vanishes, everyone assumes he's dead, the evil queen is now the evil queen. Snow White is a grown adult now, she's sweeping the grounds, and she meets her love interest. His name is not Prince Florian, he is now Jonathan, the leader of a rebel group. Jonathan is caught by the queen because he was stealing from the castle, and he's tied to a fence to freeze to death, and Snow White helps him. The evil queen did not like the fact that she helped him. Once Snow White murdered, the huntsman does not kill her. She runs off into the woods, she finds the dwarves, she lives with them for a whole night, and then she wants to go off to find her father because she suddenly had that vision, that thought that he might still be alive. In the meantime, the queen has figured out she's still alive and she sends guards into the woods to kill her. So Snow White hides from the guards, she finds Jonathan, Jonathan sings a song. They fight together against the guards with his rebel group that consists of like 5 people. Jonathan takes an arrow into his shoulder that was meant for Snow White. Snow White and the rebel group bring him to the dwarves, they heal him, they sing a song. He goes off to protect Snow White. No, he goes off to search for the king. I'm sorry, I forgot, I mixed it up. But he's immediately caught again. He does that a lot, apparently. He's thrown into the dungeon. The evil queen takes the job into her own hands now. She turns into the old woman that we know from the cartoon, gives Snow White the apples. Snow White bites into the apple, she dies. The dwarves guard over her body for like 2 days. Jonathan flees from the dungeon, he kisses her, she wakes up, she's like, okay, my father's dead, we need to take back the kingdom, like, he ain't coming, okay, we gotta do that shit. She goes off to take her kingdom back, she has like a verbal confrontation with the queen. The queen loses the verbal confrontation. She goes off to her mirror and is like, am I fine shit? And the mirror is like, nah, you're not fine shit. Snow White is. So the queen is mad, smashes the mirror, and that kills her, and Snow White's queen. End of the movie. I hope that summary did not confuse you, because I kind of really skipped through it, but we'll get into detail when I talk about things that I liked and disliked about the movie. But for now, let me briefly talk about the acting performance, because I mainly want to focus on the movie, not on the actors. So I think Snow White, also known as Rachel Zegler, I think she did a great job. If I had to rate her, I would say 8 out of 10, because like I cannot blame her for sometimes not directly looking at the dwarves and kind of sometimes having an awkward acting, because there were times where she was the only person in the room. Like, there were 7 animated dwarves, a bunch of animated animals that she was supposed to interact with. I cannot blame her for sometimes looking a bit more left instead of directly at the dwarf. So yes, her voice is lovely, really fitting for a Disney princess. Her acting is sometimes exaggerated, but I think that fits too, because it's a Disney movie, you know? I want to continue with Jonathan. The actor's name is Andrew Burnap. I personally think he is a theater kid rather than anything else. You could really sense that. I do not think that he was fitting for the character. I do think he did a great job. I would maybe give him 6 out of 10 stars if I had to. But either take another actor for this role or adjust the character to the actor. It's not a shame to kind of change the character so it fits the actor better, because you could see that the actor was trying to do so much more, but he simply couldn't, and therefore his character seemed kind of plain and boring in some ways. And the last character and actress I want to talk about is Gal Gadot in the role of the evil queen. If I had to give her stars, I would give her a 3 out of 10. Sadly, she's not a very good actress. There is this video going around on TikTok where you can see different scenes of different movies she was in, and her voice is always the same, her expression is always the same, but the scenes are meant to express different emotions, and she just doesn't. And you could sense that in this movie as well. I could not take her serious as a villain, sadly. Her tone, her voice tone, and her acting was just really bland and plain, and I really couldn't take her serious. The songs in general, I found boring and forgettable, honestly. I do think that the main song of Rachel Zegler, Waiting on a Wish, after I've listened to it several times, I now kind of like it. It's a bit in my heart, but it's still kind of forgettable, and I only remember literally the line "Waiting on a Wish," and I don't remember all the other lyrics. The Song of the Evil Queen. Oof. The title of the Song of the Evil Queen is All is Fair, if I'm not mistaken. In her song, she sings about possibly killing the huntsman as some form of punishment because she is evil, you know, she doesn't have a heart, as we know. And I think that's a really weird song because in the end of the day, she doesn't kill him, she throws him into the dungeon. I also find it really weird when villains address themselves as evil, because normally villains are villains because they don't consider themselves evil. They think that they're doing the right thing. They have a motive that they see as an excuse for all of the gruesome things they do. But a character that calls themselves evil is just... that's kind of weird. Like, okay, I should know that you're evil. You don't have to spell it out for me. Additionally, her song is just about her loving diamonds and emeralds. We have maybe 2 lines about her beauty and that she's obsessed with her beauty. So yeah, we don't really get into that either. Then there is a song called Princess Problems that I absolutely despise because it is sung by Jonathan, the love interest, and it is after Snow White goes off into the woods for a second time after she leaves the dwarfs, and she's hunted down to be murdered by all of the guards. She tells Jonathan that, and he goes, well, you have a bunch of princess problems, you know, like, don't bother me with your princess problems. Like, excuse me, sir, that woman is about to be murdered, and you go ahead and call it a princess problem? So yeah, in the song he mocks her for not having actual problems, and look, this is the real world, okay? It is cruel, as if she wouldn't know that, having lived under the direct reign of the queen, that he despises too, because he has a rebel group that works against the evil queen, and she has literally lived with the evil queen directly her whole life. He should feel pity. He should know that she knows what cruel is. Anyway, I really didn't like that song. Then there is the love song that we get approximately 10 minutes after he has sung the Princess Problem song, which I think is, you're moving really fast with this love story. Only after I've read the lyrics of the love song A Hand Meets a Hand, I understood that this song was supposed to be about them falling in love and not already being in love. I think they could have done a way better way to portray that, because the scenes that we got during the song kind of mixed up the message of the song. I'm going to talk about that later though, but I want to just talk about the lyrics, because there's a line in the song where they together sing, maybe I'm dreaming, well, I'd like to stay just like this, but if there's a world where you wake me, promise to wake me with a kiss. That's the shit I've signed up for, okay? Because it's cute, okay? It's an anecdote to the movie, to Snow White, you know, her dying and him waking her up with a kiss, and they are currently falling in love, and they're like, if there's a universe out there where we are together, please tell me that it's romantic, because, like, I'm falling in love with you, wake me with a kiss. It's cute. I really liked it. But yeah, that's basically the only thing I like about that song, the lyrics, because the song overall also kind of boring and generic, but it's cute, you know, it's cute. I can't complain that much. All the other songs, however, kind of forgettable, as already said. I really want to continue with the costume and world design now, because I think it's important to talk about that. The costume design, I also think, was kind of disappointing. All costumes of all characters, they didn't fit together. I don't exactly know what world they were supposed to live in. Was it medieval? Was it modern? Was it a completely new world? Because none of the clothes really fitted into a time period, if you know what I mean. Snow White's designs confused me because when she was a little child with her parents, happily, she has worn clothes, like a dress that was torn, like her sleeves were torn off, and then they were stitched back together really roughly, and it was kind of a poor look, if I had to find a word for it. And later on, when she suffers under the reign of the evil queen, she's wearing the exact same dress as an adult. So I'm kind of confused, because if it's supposed to be a cruel look, like a worn down kind of look to showcase that she is suffering under her reign, why did she wear the exact same thing when she was a child, happy with her parents? Clothes in movies are usually supposed to tell a story, and in this case, it just didn't tell a story, it just confused me. Her famous dress, the blue one with the yellow skirt, I think it looked kind of cheap and did not fit into the original, because the blue was kind of more like a turquoise. They could have done like a darker, richer blue, and her skirt, it looked cheap. Like, it looked like they used polyester, and it did not give the costume a good look. Her makeup confused me as well, because it didn't confuse me, I just disliked it. Her lips were pink. Like, it's Snow White. Give her red lips, honey, okay? It's not that hard. I feel a hair on my arm, but where is it? Oh, found it. Oh. Sorry. I don't have much to say about the clothes of the Evil Queen, because, yeah, she was covered up in a black cloth, so not much to say here. You can't do much right or wrong with that. I understand why they give her that look, because in the cartoon she has it as well, and covering everything up so you can only focus on her beautiful face. I understand that part, but I don't know. I kind of would have wished if they changed it up a little bit, like they enhance her beauty instead of covering everything up. I don't know, you could have done something else. I wouldn't have been mad, but I understand if it's important for other people if they stay accurate to the cartoon. Jonathan's clothes were horrendous. I could complain about it on and on, because his clothes, he always wore a hood. Why did every single one of his costumes have a hood? It looked lazy, it looked weird, it looked like a jogging costume, as if he was ready to go on a lazy Monday morning run. I love that they color coordinated him and gave him mainly green clothes, but come on, what were the clothes? Like, one of his pants went up to here. Like, it looked as if his trousers literally went over his belly button. Why? What's with that look? So yeah, costume design was disappointing as well. The world design was kind of cute, actually, I have to say, but you can't do much wrong. The only locations we had was basically the castle and the woods, and the hut, obviously, of the dwarves. Can't do much wrong with that. I kind of would have wished that sometimes they used less animations, less CGI, because sometimes flowers were animated, and the dwarves are already animated, the animals are already animated. Maybe put the time and effort into the locations, do it by hand. Don't animate everything. That's kind of lazy and kind of takes a bit of the magic away, because it's animated, it's CGI. So put a bit more effort into handmade things. Now let me talk about the characters and how they were portrayed. Let me start with Snow White. I think Snow White was a cute character and sweet, but I think they failed when it comes to portraying her as nice, because they always just said that she was a nice person, but she never really did an action that specifically portrayed her as nice, so we could actually make that decision for ourselves that we think she's nice. It was just always characters going, oh, you're so sweet, you're so nice, but I don't know, let her do actions that portray her as nice. All the actions that we had were her holding a bunch of speeches about being nice, saying that, the weight of the punishment cannot overcome the weight of the crime, which, yes, makes sense. Stuff like this. She did free her love interest, which is really kind, but I don't know, do more, a bit more. But they did a great job, but maybe do a bit more. because her biting into the apple also had a different motivation in the live action movie. In the cartoon, she bit into the apple because, the evil queen looked like an elderly lady, like a really scary old elderly lady. You could say ugly. I wouldn't outwardly say that, but people live full of prejudices. And if there was an elderly lady on the street looking like her, being like, "Here, take my apple," you would be like, "No, thank you." I mean, okay, we would be like this because we had a lot of kidnapping prevention programs with our parents and teachers when we were children, but still. So she bit into the apple in the cartoon because she was so nice and she didn't even think of being prejudiced against that elderly lady. She was just like, she's so nice, she's giving me the apple, I'm gonna bite into it, okay? I don't have prejudices, I'm nice, I'm kind. Mwah. In the live action movie, she bit into the apple because the queen told her, "Yo, Jonathan, by the way, he's in the dungeon. Go ahead and save him. Take this apple, because the journey is long and you will starve, and that one singular apple will help you not starve." And then she said something about, "Yo, your father was nice too, so he inspires me to give you this apple." And Snow White's like, "Okay." And she bites into it. The evil queen tells her, "By the way, I did kill your father." Which, that's unfortunate. But yeah, so Snow White bites into the apple in the live action movie because of a different motivation. And I think it could have been a good moment to portray her kindness again, as in the cartoon, but they probably had a reason why they decided against doing that. Jonathan, the love interest of Snow White, bothered the hell out of me. Because, his character seemed as if he was written by 10 different people and none of them ever communicated. His character was so weird because, as I already mentioned, he's the leader of a rebel group, that goes against the highest position of the government, the evil queen. And they fight in the name of the king, and they're searching for him, they're fighting in his name, they want that government back. So they meet for the first time, Snow White and Jonathan, when he sneaks into the castle to steal potatoes for his rebel group. And then he's caught, tied to a fence, yada yada yada, we know that. And in the woods, he takes an arrow into his shoulder for Snow White, but also at the same time he tells her that she has princess problems. And I don't understand that part because he met her in the castle and he thought that she was a maiden because she looked worn down, had a broom in her hand, and he told her, because he pitied her so much, he told her, "Save yourself." Which tells me that he knows that she suffered in this castle. And then he goes along and sings Princess Problems, where he tells her that, yeah, life outside of your cozy castle is hard, huh? You know that her life in the castle wasn't soft and cute and good for her. Why would you sing that? And then he's caught in a dungeon. They had that love song because apparently now they're in love. And in the dungeon, he tells the huntsman, who's also in the dungeon, "Snow White changed me. She made me brave." And I'm just like, haven't you been brave before? Is breaking into a castle and stealing potatoes for your rebel group because you're the leader of said rebel group, isn't that brave? What exactly made you even more brave about her? I don't know. It's really weird. The messages did not fit. Now, if we have to talk about the evil queen, her character was plain, was boring. I didn't even know why she was there, even though she was supposed to be the villain. I think they did a really weird job in portraying that she was obsessed with her own beauty, because they simply did not point it out enough. We had just this story of her constantly being obsessed with diamonds and with the throne, and then suddenly there was a scene where she went up to the mirror and is like, "Yo, am I fine shit?" And you're just, as a watcher, you're like, why do you suddenly care about that? Why is that? Her being obsessed with her own beauty turned into a subplot. Because there was also never a scene where we saw that the evil queen saw Snow White as an active enemy when it comes to beauty. It would have been enough if we had a scene where Snow White was still a child, the evil queen was her stepmother, and Snow White standing next to her, and then someone goes, your stepchild is growing up to be such a beautiful woman. And then you just have the evil queen looking at her, realizing, damn, she's indeed really beautiful. And just have that scene where she sees her as an enemy, where she recognizes her for the first time as an active enemy when it comes to beauty. Because we didn't have that scene, and now it's just why she's suddenly your enemy when it comes to beauty. It would have been good if we had other people also address Snow White's beauty. Just have, I don't know, when the dwarves meet her for the first time, have someone go, wow, she is so pretty. Or I don't know, have people verbally address Snow White as pretty. Okay, I need that. So we are reminded of that plot line, okay? We need that reminder in this movie that Snow White is the enemy of the evil queen because she's pretty, because she's beautiful. So yeah, they could have done a way better job with that, I think. But let us quickly continue with the Dwarfs. There was this drama with actor Peter Dinklage. He's an actor of the famous TV series Game of Thrones, and he has a condition called achondroplasia. And Peter Dinklage said he would not want people with achondroplasia to play the dwarfs because people with that condition would have been pushed back into this insult of being dwarfs. So yeah, that was a big conflict. I can't really have an opinion about that. But I think that if the people of the movie all sat down, I don't know, for a few hours and just tried to come up with a different solution, they could have done something with it. But instead, now we have those slightly creepily animated dwarfs. I did not like the way they were animated. After some time, you get used to it, but it's just that constant reminder. You have these animated dwarfs and then cut back to Snow White, the human, and you're just like, oof, they're scary. Like, Sleepy really scared me, actually. Dopey was really cute, which is surprising because when I was a child, in the cartoon version, Dopey scared the shit out of me. I don't know why. Maybe I was just a big ass pussy as a child, but Dopey, I don't know, he was animated in a really weird, eerie way. But in the live action movie, I actually really loved Dopey. And now that we're already at the topic of Dopey, he had a little storyline for himself that I love. Because Dopey in the movie, as in a cartoon, is mute. But in the movie, they gave him a different reason for being mute. They gave him the reason that he did not feel brave enough to speak up. Snow White recognizes that really upsets him, and she sits down, talks to him, and says, it's okay if you do not feel brave enough to speak up. If I don't feel brave enough to speak, I sometimes just whistle. And she teaches him how to whistle. He learns it. He's really happy because he finally has some kind of communication, and he can be part of the song that then plays. And towards the end of the movie, when Snow White decides to be brave enough to take back her kingdom, Dopey feels brave enough to speak up for the first time. And everyone's really happy about that. And in the beginning of the movie, we had an unknown narrator narrating the birth story of Snow White. And in the end of the movie, we find out that Dopey is that narrator. And I really love that because it is Snow White's whole thing is bravery and teaching you to be brave. And I think that his little plot line really portrayed that so well, because even the smallest of things that you don't feel brave enough to do, brave enough to overcome, can have such a big impact, okay? And I really love that. I really love that. The fact that he overcame that, and it was a little bravery plotline. Oh, love it. Now, I also want to talk about the relationship between characters, specifically about the relationship between Jonathan and Snow White, and the relationship between the Queen and Snow White. The love story between Jonathan and Snow White bothered me as well. The love story was not the focus of the movie. It was kind of like a subplot. I think they had like 20 minutes of screen time in a movie that was 2 hours long. But at the same time, they kind of tried to give them a slight enemies to lovers plot, which I don't like enemies to lovers because most people do it wrong. If you do it right, but a lot of people just have characters be mean to each other and then suddenly they fall in love, even though they're still mean to each other, which if you're willing to only give like 20 minutes of screen time to a couple, don't give them the enemies to lovers trope. Make them actively like each other so I can understand why they fell for each other, okay? Because he is just mean to her in the way that he sings Princess Problems, and she calls him selfish in the very same song because he's saying all the bullshit to her. And then he takes an arrow into his shoulder and she's like, okay, yeah, well, maybe maybe I don't hate him that much. Like, he just complained to you about the fact that you have princess problems, when in fact you're being hunted down to be murdered. I mean, yeah, thank you for taking an arrow that was meant for me, but like, I don't know. So yes, it kind of seemed as if they were speedrunning their love story, because like, I mean, I guess they were supposed to fall in love during the song, but I didn't get the message. That wasn't true love for me. That was just people having just met, the man being an arrogant piece of ass, and I don't know, her not actively showing that she's actually falling for him. I don't know. I'm saying I don't know a lot when it comes to their love story. Wow. Now I want to talk about Snow White and the Evil Queen, because there was basically no relationship existing between them. Like, I didn't know what kind of relationship they had to each other, what kind of attitude they had with each other. They had one conversation where the queen talked to her in a normal tone and went, Ayo, Snow White, I know you want to change shit when it comes to the kingdom, but this is you, a rose, it can wither. This is me, a diamond. What do you think the people want? That was the conversation. And it would have been great if we had a scene where we could actively see their relationship and what kind of relationship they had, because the evil queen is supposed to be cruel to her. What I needed was a scene where the evil queen, I don't know, screams at her and says, go sweep the grounds, or something like that. I don't know, scream at her like, go clean the castle, leave me alone. I needed that scene, because now we just had a bunch of scenes with Snow White in the beginning of the movie cleaning the castle almost willingly. Like, it seemed as if she had kind of fun doing it, because she was also singing a cutesy song while doing it. And there was not a singular scene where she was, I don't know, scrubbing the ground and went, because she hated it. No, she just did that, scrubbed the ground completely willingly. No one forced her, and she sang a cutesy song while doing it. So the cruelty that the queen was supposed to possess, as a viewer, I did not get it. So yeah, give me a bit more context when it comes to the relationship, so I can feel the tension, you know? Give me suffering. But let me get to my favorite part of this video, scenes that I want to discuss. Scenes in movies, doesn't matter how short they are, they can be really important. And because, you know, they kind of showcase what kind of a movie it is. And it also showcases, is the movie capable of selling their story to you? So I have a bunch of scenes, let's get into it. The first one is that I didn't like the way she freed Jonathan. Because Snow White freed Jonathan in the beginning of the movie when he is tied to the fence by the queen. Because what kind of punishment is that? The queen wanted to throw him into the dungeon. Like, I think she almost thought about murder as well. And then her punishment was tie him to the fence in front of the castle, have him freeze to death. Why would he freeze to death? It was a warm spring or summer. I did not see people wearing layers of coats to indicate that it was a cold season. There were flowers blooming, trees growing fruits. Why would he freeze to death? And it's so silly because it's such a small thing, but like, it didn't make the stakes feel high enough of him being tied to a fence as a punishment. I'm supposed to actively fear for his life. And what did I do? I just sat there and be like, okay, is he supposed to, like, is that what's supposed to happen? They could have said, like, tie him to the fence, let him starve to death. That would have made a bit more sense, but even then, he was tied to the other side of the fence, which means he can interact with the people in the kingdom. Like, they could have talked to him, which means they also could have fed him. So, in the end of the day, what were the stakes? He couldn't have died. Nothing horrendous could have happened to him. And let's be honest, summer nights are not cold enough for someone to freeze. Most of them. So yeah, that was a scene that really confused me. Additionally, I did not like the Huntsman scene with Snow White when he was supposed to kill her, because he accompanies her on a walk to the edge of the woods. There are a bunch of trees with apples on them, and she picks apples. She turns around to him and gives him an apple and is like, do you want one? And he looks at her for a really long time. Then he goes, you're really kind. What about that made her specifically a kind person. Like, yes, she gives him an apple, that's cute, okay, you don't always have to sacrifice something to be kind, but like, there were a bunch of apple trees around you. You could have just picked one yourself. So this is I don't know, it was kind of a weak scene to portray her kindness. Like, it was not strong enough of a kind action for him to go, "You're so kind," and then decide not to kill her because of that. By the way, that was why he didn't kill her. So yeah, that wasn't enough for me, sadly. Now, I really, really want to talk about the love song, about the scene of the love song, A Hand Meets a Hand. I told you that I was confused until I read the lyrics, because I thought that in this song they were already in love. Because, let me tell you how that scene was directed. They were standing in the garden of the dwarfs. Jonathan was standing on this side. Snow White was standing on this side of the garden, you know? Far away from each other. Snow White looks at him, sees him dancing and laughing with the dwarfs. She starts to sing. We have a cut of him in slow-mo. Glitter around him. All the other characters that were supposed to be there aren't there right now because they tried to make it seem like they're so in love with each other. They only see each other. All the other people in the room aren't important. They vanish. But yeah, I think they did a poor job editing and directing that, because it kind of seemed like a scene from a K-drama, but like not the good version. And the same thing happens to him. He looks at her, sings, she's in slow-mo, dancing, standing there alone. There's glitter everywhere. And then they slowly walk towards each other, look into each other's eyes, almost kiss. The song ends, and then all of the other characters stand behind them like, and look at them like that, which confused the hell out of me, because the characters, when they first started singing, the characters didn't react to the song, which made me think that this was like a song in their head. But apparently it was not, because the characters still were aware of the end scene where they almost kissed. I don't know, that confused me, and it made it seem as if both of them already have been in love for quite some time. Because why are you almost kissing? So let me talk about the way I would have directed it, because I'm licensed to do that. I don't know, I have an ego and I think I could do better. My idea is, we don't have to change much, okay? Jonathan, still on that side of the garden, Snow White on that side of the garden. Both of them start to sing. We do not have that weird ass slow-mo glittery K-drama scene, because that's a weird scene, okay? Don't do that. But we have them still walk towards each other, looking into each other's eyes. I want them to stand in front of each other with, leave space, and have them hold hands, because the movie is called A Hand Meets a Hand, so metaphor. So they could stand in front of each other, hold each other's hand, look into each other's eyes, sing the song, Do Not Almost Kiss. The song ends, both of them are actually still standing on the other side of the garden, looking at each other longingly. Boom! That would have been banger, because we wouldn't have had that scene where they almost would have kissed, which, I don't know, that bothered me. And at the same time, it would have showcased their relationship a bit more, because both of them are longing, okay? They're realizing, oh shit, I've been falling in love with that person. Like, this is the moment where they realize that they have fallen in love with each other. And now imagine that both are thinking the same thing at the same time, and they look at each other across all of these people in the garden, and both realize, damn, this is love that is currently happening. That would have been a banger scene. But instead we got bad directing, and it kind of made the song really cringe. I can continue to talk about the death scene, because it was good, but I would have directed it a bit differently. I would have made it more dramatic, because I'm already really happy about the death scene, because we have that one shot. I really love that shot. She bites into the apple. Suddenly we have a shot of the grass. Her hand falls onto the grass. The apple rolls out. Banger shot. I love that. But after that, the dwarves come running. Everyone's sad. Her dead body's lying on a stone. The dwarves are standing around her. I think 2 days pass, and then Jonathan comes and saves the day. Make that scene more dramatic, okay? You can make it more dramatic. It's a Disney movie, and it's Snow White. Her death scene is is that one thing you think of if someone says Snow White. Like when someone says Snow White, the thing you think about is Apple, her death. So that is a really significant scene for her movie. Do not be afraid to go over the top to make it dramatic. Now, how would I have done it? Subtle things, okay? Still have that shot, hand, Apple rolls out, have thunder rumbling in the background, okay? Have nature react to her death. Have clouds, sun clouding the sun, make the whole screen a bit more dim, okay? I need a sudden silence, like the whole woods are suddenly grieving her death. It's about Snow White, that one innocent, really sweet and kind person who died because of one idiotic, selfish person. Have nature react. Then I need a scene where the dwarves are guarding her body, because that's cute, okay? I love that. Them guarding her body, grieving her, that's just friendship. But have that scene be a bit more dramatic as well. Have there be no sun. Have the whole days be dim. I need at least 5 days of them guarding her body. Let me see a montage. This is the one time I want to see a montage in a movie. Okay, we see that it is dim, no one is happy, sad music playing in the background, animals and dwarfs just sitting around her dead body and just grieving her death. Rain comes down and you see the dwarves standing over her dead body, just trying to guard it with their hands so the rain doesn't fall on her. Be dramatic. It's a Disney movie. You can be dramatic. Have that scene have a big impact on the viewers. Another scene I want to talk about is several scenes actually, because it's the plot line of the king still possibly being alive, because Snow White suddenly has in her mind, yo, my father could still be alive, I'm gonna search for him. Jonathan's like, yo, I'm searching for your father too since the whole time. I don't believe that he's dead. We're fighting in his name. And then they never actively search for the king because they're always interrupted. And then at some point the queen, shortly before killing Snow White, goes, yeah, I've actually murdered your father. There's no way he's still alive. And Snow White wakes up from true love's kiss and immediately goes, my father's dead. I understand why they put the storyline in there, because her thing is supposed to be bravery, right? Which means that all the time she hoped that her father would come in, save the day, take back the kingdom, do the dirty work for her. And then she realized, shit, my father really is gone. There is no one else my kingdom can rely on except me. So now I have to step in and be brave and save the kingdom. I understand that storyline. It's sweet, it's cute, it's good, but it was portrayed as a subplot the whole time, that they were trying to still find the father. And don't make it a subplot if it is supposed to have that big of an impact on the main character. Also, I have to add, I think it's kind of funny how Jonathan reacted to the news, because he said at her grave, she woke up and she went, my father's dead. And then she stands up and has another speech about her father's dead, they have to be brave and have to take the kingdom back. And Jonathan is just in the background like he's staring after her the whole time. No reaction, by the way, to finding out that the king actually is dead, that he was murdered by the evil queen. That you are the leader of a rebel group fighting in the name of the king. You probably searched for him for the last 10 years of your life, and then you find out that one purpose you had, basically your whole life, is truly pointless because the king is gone, and the only reaction you have is, you're just gaping? Like, do something. Be like, oh shit. Okay, maybe don't say oh shit in a Disney movie, but like, you get what I want to say. Did I like the end scene of her taking her kingdom back? I didn't. I think you could have done something else, because it was kind of giving Aladdin live action. If you've seen the Aladdin live action movie, you know what I mean. If you haven't, let me explain. There's a scene where Jasmine is supposed to be taken away by the guards, and then she turns around and directly addresses the head of the guards, like the head of the military. His name is Hakim, and she says, Hakim, I still remember when your father used to work the grounds, and you raised up into the position of the head of our military. You've always been loyal to our family. Wow, 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 we're grateful for that. And then Hakim's like, yeah, you're right. I don't know what was wrong with me right now. Like, my loyalty lies with you, my princess. And then she has the military under her power, which it's good. if you want to take back a government. And Snow White in the live action movie was probably doing the same, because the evil queen went, yo, take her away. The guards want to take her away, and she goes, yo, Wilhelm, I remember you used to work with your father in your bakery before the queen forced you to become a soldier, and you were always so kind and nice to people, and you gave them bread, which, yes, it's a good scene, reminding them of their kindness and of the past where everything was great and not that dull. But I don't know, it was kind of giving Aladdin live action, and that's why I did not like that scene. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but it was kind of lazy writing in that sense. Also in that scene, the people of her kingdom were just standing behind her the whole time. They weren't doing anything. And that was so weird, because you guys are a mob of people. You're like, I don't know, 30 people? More than 30 people? Fight against her. Okay? Help Snow White. I could understand the fact that they're not helping her when we would have had a scene in the beginning of the movie where they tried to fight back against the queen and they lost because she went at them with her magic, So we had a scene where we knew the people did try to fight for themselves and they simply couldn't. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed kind of weird that they just put all of their faith in Snow White and they didn't even try to help her. So these were a few scenes that I really disliked and I really wanted to talk about, because scenes like this really, they can shape and form a whole movie, and in this case they shaped and formed it in the worst way, I think. But there were scenes I loved too. Two specifically. It's only 2 scenes, but these were good. I love how they explained her name change, because her name was a big reason why people first disliked Rachel Zegler as Snow White when she was announced, because Rachel Zegler is not completely white. If I'm not mistaken, she has Colombian ancestors, and people cared a lot, because the people went and said, oh my god, it's so important for the plot that she's white because her name is Snow White, but it's actually not important at all. Like in the Brother Grimm version and the original one, the mother of Snow White, pricks herself with a needle into her finger, blood falls into the snow, and she's like, oh, Snow White, what a good name for a daughter. Only in the cartoon version and in the fairy tale versions that we have afterwards is she called Snow White because of her skin. And people constantly acted as if her skin color is an important plot of the movie, but it is not. Like, the movie could have went the exact same way if we had a completely black Snow White. The only thing that was in the way was her name and why she was called Snow White. And they explained that really good in the live-action movie, because in a live-action movie, really briefly, they addressed she was called Snow White because she was born in a snowstorm. I like that. It's a quick explanation. It's a logical explanation. I'll take it. So yeah, I never really cared much about that whole skin color discussion, because it's simply not important for the plot. If you have movies like Kiss the Frog with Tiana, of course her skin color is important, because it is an important plot of the part and of her character, because she represents the suffering that a person of color had to go through back in the days. I mean, and now still. So yes, that is really important for her character, and also for a bunch of little girls that have watched Kiss the Frog and identified themselves with Tiana. But Snow White, I don't know, it's not that important to me what skin color she has. If it's important to you or other people out there, let it be. Okay, then it is important for you. That's okay. For me, it isn't. So I found that scene really fitting, and I think it was a good explanation. Another scene that I really loved, and a friend pointed out to me when she watched the movie with me, was the scene of her running away from the huntsman into the woods. Because in the cartoon version, Snow White's clothes and her hair, they get caught in branches, so she moves around really exaggerated like this, trying to get them away from her. And Rachel Zegler decided to do the same thing in the live action version, and I think it was so good. Like, it was such a good detail, and I really loved it. It's just, it was a little think back to the cartoon version that I've watched a lot of times as a child. So yeah, additionally, I can only say I think they definitely did a horrible job when it came to the promotion of the movie, because we only had a few interviews of Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler who didn't say good things. I think Rachel Zegler was trying to say something else and she just worded it badly, because we didn't like her interviews because she bashed the fact that you cannot be a strong woman and in love at the same time. That's not good. Like, if you make a movie like Snow White that is based on true love being a savior, don't pull that whole love is a weakness bullshit on me. And I think that's what definitely went wrong, because Rachel Zegler shouldn't have portrayed love as a weakness in the interviews, and that's sadly exactly what she did. And it's not good that she basically said that you could cut all of the scenes of the male love interest, because that's just not a nice thing to say, specifically about a fellow actor. You do not want to hear a fellow actress of yours, say that your scenes are unimportant and could be cut. That's mean, that's rude, don't do that. So yeah, I think a lot of things went wrong with the interviews. I do have a neutral opinion about Rachel Zegler. So yeah, I think she performed well in the movie, but the interviews, they were horrendous. So, final key point, do I think that Snow White was a strong female character? I think it's a difficult question, because she wasn't really a weak character, but they could have done a way better job portraying her as a strong character as well. So yeah, I don't really know. It's a difficult question. I mean, the question is, what do you think? Do you think she's a strong character? Do you think she's a weak character? Or are you like me and just simply cannot decide? So this was me talking about the Snow White live action movie. Thank you so much for actually listening to me till the end. Thank you so much if you left a comment. Thank you so much if you left a like. And thank you even more if you left the subscription, because like, heart goes out. The next video is probably going to be about Thunderbolts or Captain America Brave New World. I'm not exactly sure, but it's going to be one of those. And I have a long list of movies I want to talk about. If you have any idea of a movie I could talk about, or you really want me to talk about one, just write it down. I will look at it and I will reconsider watching the movie, or maybe I've already watched the movie and then I can talk about it. Thank you very much for watching me, and bye!